Good evening. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing for the invocation by Deacon Ken Carpinelli. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Let us pray. Almighty Father, we thank you for all those who are present here tonight. May you be with them, provide them with the strength they need in this day and in the days to come. I ask, Lord, that you would also watch over the members of the government here in Gloucester Township. Grant them wisdom, knowledge, and compassion. The skills to be able to look for the needs of the people of this community. Guide also all of our first responders into safety as they also help to protect and care for those here. May we also learn how we can care for each other by recognizing that each one of us is a gift from you. And may we make sure that we share the gift of your love. I ask for all these things in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Deacon. This regular meeting of the Township Council is being held in accordance with the schedule of the meetings of the Township Council, established and adopted by the Township Council, which schedule designated the time and date and place of this meeting. Adequate public notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. We're using electronic amplifying and recording devices in order to obtain a clear and audible record. And we request all those wishing to speak be recognized and state your name and address directly to the microphone. The recording device will be solely utilized by the Township Clerk's Office for the preparation of the minutes and shall be the official record of the Township Council meetings. Madam Clerk, may I have the roll call, please?
Mr. Mignon.
Here.
Mrs. Albright Troxel. Here. Mrs. Grace Love. Here. Mr. Mash.
Here.
Mrs. Walters.
Here.
Mrs. Winters. Here. Mr. Mercado.
Present.
Mr. Carlemere.
Here.
Mr. Curtis.
Here.
Chief Harkins.
Here.
Mr. McGill.
Here. This evening, we're having a public hearing on a proposed inclusive playground at the Valley Brook Sports Complex. Mr. Zampino from Triad and Mr. Kern from Pettit Associates will provide a presentation of approximately 10 minutes, and that'll be followed by any public comment for a 15-minute period. Mr. Zampino.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you noted, the public hearing is to provide information about the application that we are submitting to the township would like to submit to Green Acres for development costs to build and construct a Jake's Law playground. Just by way of background, Jake's Law was passed in 2018 with the intent of providing guidelines to exceed the very basic ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act requirements, to include provisions that reflect on disabilities, physical, emotional, social, sensory, for children ages 5 to 12, 2 to 12 years. Subsequent to the law being adopted in 2023, Green Acres, a program through the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, which the township has participated in on many programs successfully. Last year, Taylor Avenue as one of the many projects that have been approved. Green Acres came out with guidelines inviting applications, first from counties and then second last year from municipalities. It allows funding to, as I said, construct with equipment and other improvements that are reflective of the sensitivities of children with emotional and physical disabilities, shading, quiet areas, special restroom facilities, etc. So part of the application requirements include a public engagement process. And Green Acres wanted to be sure that it was thought out sufficiently over a period of time before the February 5th application deadline submission. So in addition to this public hearing, Green Acres was very interested to see what else the township would do. And Gloucester Township was embraced the principle. We had a detailed community survey that was conducted from December 27th through January 17th. We had 272 responses from that survey. It was online, and of that number, 68% of the, 81% responded that we would welcome additional recreation opportunities, and 68% of those referenced an all-inclusive, which is inclusive in terms of facilities for children of all ages and with all disabilities. So with that in mind, we also held an open community forum on January 7th, once again, to invite questions and comments about the program. And there are actually some interesting comments. One was if we're putting benches out there for family and friends, watch with the children, that they be shaded, and that was incorporated into the plan. Another comment had come from the Soccer Association about the need for additional restroom facilities, and we were able to incorporate a special, what's called a family assisted use restroom as part of the overall plan and in the budget. At this point in time, the public hearing is tonight, and that's following the community survey, the open community forum. And when that notice was published, and I believe it was on January 5th, we also had it posted online and through social media. And during that time of the posting, copies of the concepts that we're planning, the budget, and what the required environmental assessment were all in place at that time. So right now, the hearing tonight is to invite public comment and certainly answer any questions. And we will incorporate those minutes into the application, which has to be submitted by February 5th. Of 2025. Mr. President, the next part of the presentation, I will defer to the engineer, who will just speak to the plan, the budget, and the assessment, at which are integral parts of the application and documents that the public have had online, but also we want to make sure that we can at least address some of the details of those plans.
Thank you, Mr. Zampino. Mr. Kern?
Good evening, James Curran with the Pettit Group. There are 9 requirements to meet Jake's Law. I'll go through them one by one. One is accessible parking. So our playground is adjacent to an existing parking lot with 19 ADA accessible parking spaces. Number 2, there needs to be accessible routes to the playground and related facilities. We're providing accessible routes from the parking lot to the playground, from the playground to the bathroom facilities and snack bar area, and from the playground to the adjacent Field of Dreams accessible sports fields. Number 3, unitary safety surfacing. We're going to provide a rubber surface that's proposed. It's safer than traditional playground surfaces and fully accessible. Number 4, accessible bathroom facilities. We're converting an existing storage room on the south side of the building to an accessible family toilet room. And we're not going to touch the existing facility, so there'll be 3 bathrooms there. One will be the assisted use facility required. Shade, number 5 is shade. A minimum of 20% of the square footage for the surface and equipment is shaded by natural other means. Unfortunately, at this park, there's no existing shade trees, or any shade of any kind. So we have to provide all man-made shade, so providing canopies, umbrellas, and sails. We took the comments from the public, and instead of 20%, we're going to increase it to 30%. Get all the benches, a lot of the play equipment will all be under shade. Fencing, we're providing a fence with a double gate, 10 feet wide, around the proposed playground. 7 and 8. 7 is inclusive play equipment, 8 ramps and transfer points of playground equipment. Components that address physical, sensory, cognitive, social, emotional, imaginative, and communication needs of those who visit the playground are being provided. Equipment meets ADA requirements, providing wheelchair accessible routes and ramps and transfer points on the equipment. Customized equipment such as special swings allow all kids to enjoy the playground as it's meant to be enjoyed. And 9, quiet areas. Quiet zones provide a sanctuary where children can take a break from the sensory-rich environment of a typical playground and self-regulate. These zones are typically designed with elements that promote calmness and relaxation. They may include features such as shaded areas, soft surfaces, gentle sensory activities, or even natural elements like plants and water features. The aim is to create an environment that feels safe and inviting. All the 9 requirements are met by our proposal. We did have a environmental impact assessment prepared by Acer Associates, our sub-consultant. Their summary was that there were no areas, no conditions. Let me read exactly what it says. There are no adverse impacts that require mitigation, so we're just got nothing to worry about environmentally. Budget, we prepared a cost estimate that will be included with the application. The total construction cost is estimated to be $749,842. The eligible grant is 75% of that, $562,500, and we'll be requesting a loan of $187,500. That's a 20-year, no interest loan. No additional money will be needed for this playground. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Kern. So I would ask that if there's any questions, from the public, Mr. Kern, that you and Mr. Sampino can field them. Would anyone like to speak on this subject matter? Yes, sir, and followed by you in the back.
Question.
Could you please come up?
Oh, yes, sir.
State your name and address, please.
And if you would also, anyone who's
And
coming.
you have 3 minutes, sir.
Okay, yes, sir. Matthew Peterson, 440 North Horse Pike in Blackwood. My question for you was, when we went to the Zoom meeting, you had originally made an estimate of $1 million with $750,000 and then the $250,000 loan. Now that the numbers you're telling me are less, can we possibly still get $1 million total, since we were already approved for $750,000, and then use that for maintenance money in future years? That is my question.
The answer is, the Green Acres set a maximum of $750,000. Originally, the way the guideline was written, we had to get clarification as to other municipalities. Originally, the way it was written, 75% would be a grant up to $750,000, and then 25% a loan if you had $1 million project. Because the rule, as interpreted and clarified, came back and said 750 max grant and loan. So that what we had to do was kind of read the project scope within that $750,000 threshold. 25% of which Jim mentioned was the $562,500 grant, and then the balance is a 0% over 20 years of the 187. So the reason was Originally, we thought we had $1 million or
Okay.
750.
But we
They
didn't
said,
use it.
no, it's 750, that's the cap, that's the max.
Okay. And then I say I have a minute and a half, so if I just wanted to testify as a member of the community that has disabled members and disabled family member, I think it's a wonderful idea, especially now with the lower cost. I was gonna say at 12,500, that's what I came in to say. 12,500 a year is nothing, but now I don't know the quick math in my head, but it has a cost to the township. To me, it's a no-brainer. I know some people online have been opposed because they're worried about spending more money when we have a little bit of a debt, but to me, that's less than 0.5% of our overall debt, and totally worth it, so that not just the children with disabilities can play, but also their siblings and their friends. It's truly a playground for all, so I urge you strongly to support this project.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr. Peterson.
Thank you.
Please give us your name.
Sure, Matthew Peterson.
And on the.
Oh, on there too.
Thank you, Matthew.
Miss?
Hi, Nancy Kelly, Hilltop Black, New Jersey. I was one of the 4 people who were on the township phone call. Could you speak up, please? Yes, I asked for a figure on the phone call. What was our yearly maintenance plan to maintain this park? And that, you told me that figure wasn't available. The council had those figures.
We don't have that number yet, we don't have it.
So we're gonna build something or we don't know how much it's gonna cost
Well,
us?
actually, let me,
A yearly maintenance?
I think the nature of this park is that all the services in there are
The permeable rubber.
Permanent.
Yes.
material, so there's no maintenance in terms of cutting the grass or adding fill in various places with wood chips, et cetera. So it's the minimum maintenance required for all the equipment. It's all very kind of durable product. Partner Rec Department already has a maintenance budget. This would probably be the least costly of all. We haven't had to, when we write the application, or excuse me, finish the application, we will include evidence that the township has the wherewithal, the personnel, and the resources to maintain this as they would any recreation facility.
So when Delran, Cherry Hill, Washington Township, Winslow, and Consulting, did you ever give those other towns a possible yearly maintenance cost? Okay. So you said in the 272 responses,
Yes.
I also did one line and I posted it to PTA sites, FSA sites, and local school sites. And on the meeting, I asked, are we going to reach out to that community of children who would utilize this? And also there was no portion on the questionnaire for comments or additional input. It was strictly yes or no, and that's it. And part of that, I said to circumvent that when it said other, put your comment in other. So do you have a list of what the possible answers were when it came to other?
I don't know that there were many comments other than the direct line responses, but I do think it was directed, I don't have the survey right now, but that if there were any questions, that it would be directed to the recreation department. So to my knowledge, working with the rec department, I haven't seen any comments. But certainly, listen, if you have comments, the forum tonight is, please let us know what they are and we will.
That was my biggest question, was what was going to be. And
Okay.
then, so really, someone mentioned $187,000 would be our cost. And figuring out that 12,000 is not a large amount. It is a large amount. So I want to know from council, are we cutting anything to maintain, to have a loan of $12,000 a year or maybe $10,000 a year? Are we going to add that additional?
That hasn't been discussed. We have an annual budget that for a recreation department for all our parks, and this will be included to it.
So it hasn't been discussed, okay? Because right now
So-
we have 54 parks and playgrounds. I printed out a 3-page list.
Thank you. You can provide that to us. Ms. Kelly, your
No,
time
it's
is
on our
up.
website. You have
Okay.
access to it. I just
So-
want to make sure that what we currently have is going to be maintained in addition to a new playground.
We will maintain our parks. Thank you very much. Mr. Eckstein?
Good evening. Ira Eckstein, Glen Oaks. Basically, I think this park is something that we don't need. Or not that we don't need it. I like the idea of it. I don't think we can afford it. 3 months ago, you guys were saying, vote yes to sell the sewer system, to pay the debt. Now all of a sudden, we got money. It doesn't make sense. That's not being fiscally responsible, in my opinion. Other than that, the only thing I want to say is, I know there's people here who are going to say, oh, this guy doesn't like people with disabilities and he has no heart. That's not the case. The debt that you guys created, that you wanted to pay off, was all developed by you guys. So if they're going to get mad at anybody, you guys, all of you, you're the reason we have this debt.
Thank you, Mr. Eckstein. Anyone else would like to speak? Ms. Coyne, followed by Mr. Jarrett.
I'd like to clarify, the comment was made.
Can we have your name, please?
Denise Coyne,
And where you reside?
Shoes Lane.
Thank you.
I'd like to clarify a comment was made that you didn't discuss the financial aspects of this, but you're gonna vote on this tonight to approve, correct?
In the budget, as far as this is any other type of park that we would adhere. We have a park that's going in Catalina Hills. We have a park that's going in Taylor Avenue. Those are things that are part of the recreation budget. We have Green Acres money that we dedicate to taking care of our parks. So this particular project, and as far as the maintenance of it, no, it's not been discussed by council. That's something that our administrator will do with the Public Works Department. Did I clarify for you?
To vote tonight to approve this.
Yes. That is correct.
So immediately after this public hearing,
There'll be a resolution, yes.
Okay. I wanted to ask, one, is the county also making applications for these types of parks?
Mr. Zampino?
I do not know.
Well, is it possible that the county is doing this and they have done it and another park is going to be going at Lakeland, for example?
Well, I think if there were, I can't answer that question except to say I think the township would know if that were the case.
Mr. Cars, as a business administrator, are you aware of it, the county planning at any park?
I am not specific.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's something that the county would have done, but they didn't do, they left it for the township to do. Is that a correct assumption?
No, I think that's an opinion. Mr. Cars, that's an opinion.
Okay.
Do you know that the county, that's something they said, let Audubon do it, or Washington Township,
So
or,
he's not aware that the county's doing
Okay.
it, correct?
so, but you made a statement that the county said, we'll leave it to the towns to do it.
No, I said, Mr. Carter's just got through saying that he's not aware that the county asked for one of these playgrounds, but the county could apply for one of these playgrounds, did they not? So the fact that they didn't, left it up for the township to do, correct?
The county has 37 municipalities. Mr. Cars says he's not aware of them putting a project like this in our
They
township.
lost their township. Okay, so there's not a chance that one's gonna be built in Lakeland and we're building one else,
I can't determine the future.
current, that we're aware of, is what I'm asking. Okay, and my other question was, there is an ADA park being built on Taylor Avenue that also has the same surface and, is ADA compliant. So I'm wondering why, this park is being considered a mile away and not an aerial or Centerville, which would better service our 24 square mile community instead of having two ADA parks within a mile of each other.
Mr. Zampino, can you explain to her what Taylor Avenue is? Because it's not just for children or adults that are disabled. It is for the whole community. Can you please expand upon that? Thank
It's
you.
definitely for the whole community, and that park actually was approved, I think, the highest scoring application of all the Green Acres, because it's a multi-generational project. It's not certainly it will have ADA considerations, as all public facilities must. But this is not, that is not a Jake's Lawn playground. It is for children, youth, adults with fitness equipment and recreation, all forms of recreation. It's multi-generational, it's designed that way, it was approved by Green Acres as a very, very high priority project because of its unique ability to address many needs of a larger community, not just children with disabilities. I'm not excluding them, just saying this park will have the kinds of features that can be integrated into the overall facility that's there right now.
Thank you, Mr. Sampiano. Thank you, Ms. Coyne, for your time. Mr. Jarrett.
Good evening, Jared Thomas from Blackwood. I just had a couple things I wanted to confirm. So this park is going to be located at the Valley Brook Sports Complex, which is, I believe, near the Field of Dreams.
That's correct. That's correct.
And my understanding is like the park is also going to be replacing an existing softball field, correct? So is it fair to say then like whatever maintenance costs were associated with that softball field can now be rolled into maintaining this park? Is that an accurate statement?
Ms. Gores?
I think you could throw that, yes.
I appreciate, I have a comment about the shading. One of my biggest concerns as a parent, right now is like there are some parks, like especially in the middle of July, I can't take my kids to because I will buy a heat strip or something. Sure. Because it's not just like how hot it is, but it's just the direct sunlight. You feel like you're gonna get burned within like 2 minutes. I did want to inquire, because like this was a question I had was like, I don't know if the scope of the park is fixed at this point, but one of my thoughts was like, can this be a splash pad similar to what they have at the Solo Park in Deptford? That looked like an extremely ADA accessible amenity. To my knowledge, there is no splash pads in Gloucester Township anywhere. So it's like, it can sometimes be a bit of a hike to get the kids over to Fasola, so I don't know if that's viable.
The DCA actually prepared a set of standards for jigsaw playgrounds. And in our reading, we don't see that the splash park as among those that could be designed to accommodate that need. It could be something.
Part of like an overall playground?
Yeah, it can be other playgrounds, but I'm saying for this design, they said specific standards, some of which Jim talked about, but there are other code standards for the types of equipment, et cetera. Not seeing splash parks as part of that. And it is an added cost, so we want to try to get as much active or passive equipment, both active and passive equipment to address that.
Okay, I thought of it because I know like there's already existing features there that have water connected to them, so it's like a lot simpler as Costco for connecting, so I wasn't sure if that was viable. And then, so I was kind of looking at the cost as well. My understanding is it's $187,500 would be the amount of the loan. It's 0% interest that's spread out over 20 years.
Right.
So then, if my math is right, then in Gloucester Township, I assume has about 25,000 households per the census. That would be 37.5 cents per household per year. So I think that's worthwhile to create a park that is absolutely accessible for a wide variety of children, and I think we should do it.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. We have time for one more speaker, Mr. Davis.
Ron Davis, Farmer West. I'm here tonight to express my very strong support for the proposed inclusive playground at the Valley Brook Complex. As the treasurer of GT Field of Dreams, I've been amazed at the pure joy that our program brings to the guys and gals that playing our games. Many of you guys have probably been out there as buddies and have experienced the same joy that the players feel. To watch them put their arms around each other as they wake to bat or to help each other in the field fills your heart. And I know it does mine. It's one of the best things to do on a Saturday if you have them. As a 25-year resident of Gloucester Township and a business owner myself, I've seen our community grow and prosper. I'm a full proponent of our branding of Gloucester Township, as we've noticed from all the signs, and the pride it brings to be a resident. The new businesses that have opened over the years and the continued efforts of our local government to make things better and serve the various residents in our townships veterans, the disabled, seniors, all serve to make this a great place to live and work. The Recreation Center provides so many wonderful programs for our residents as well. As a resident, I believe we have a responsibility, if not a duty, to provide for those in our township that need additional care. Sometimes that means volunteering, and sometimes, as in this case, it means money. The proposed playground does just that, a space where individuals with disabilities can play and enjoy the outdoors. As Mr. Jones spoke, it's located next to an underutilized field, and it will serve our community well. Our board met previously, and the GT Field of Dreams nonprofit has agreed to donate $25,000 to the playground on behalf of our players to offset some of the costs. I believe the check was dropped off this morning.
Yes, I received the check today.
Some of you guys know me, I'm a pretty big sports fan, so, and I have a business here in the township, so I'll agree to donate $2,500 a year to help offset the costs of playground. And I will give for either, we'll have GT Field of Dreams, or if we do something through the township. I have 6 tickets to the Eagles season tickets. I have 2 seats, 8 rows off the field and 4 seats up in section 241, and I will agree to donate them to the township or to GT Field of Dreams for us to raffle to provide additional funds to help offset the cost of either maintaining or to pay that $985 a month.
Thank you very much, Mr. Davis. And with that, we'll conclude our hearing. We're going to segue into our public portion. If there's anyone that wanted to speak on this, it is a resolution, and we do have a public comment period. So those who are unfamiliar with our rules of order for our council meetings, they are posted on the bulletin board, but I just remind everyone, please limit your comments to 3 minutes for the first public comment portion. That is only for agenda items only. So does anyone like to speak on any agenda items only that has not spoken? Yes, ma'am.
First, I have a request. I know this is recorded, but can I have her not record me?
You can request that, but we're in a public forum.
I would prefer that you not record me.
Mr. Carlin?
So the
One
procedurally,
second.
individuals are allowed to, as long as they're not interfering or videoing the public speaker in a sense.
Okay.
Nothing will prevent them from
It's
recording.
fine, it's just kind of.
And you kindly ask, and
Yeah,
I do appreciate it.
Kindly ignored.
Okay.
My name is Kathy Lashevsky. I live in Tendale, Sicklerville. I have a question about the licensing fees. I feel like by making such a small margin between what you're charging for a altered pet versus an unaltered pet is promoting residents to breed and not spay and neuter. I'm not asking for you to provide me any insight, but just consider maybe making a more drastic difference, because we have a widespread problem in this area with animals breeding, whether wanted or unwanted, and it's going to result in us having to deal with the cleanup.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Ms. Coyne?
Ms. Gordon, she's like, I have a question on resolution 25:01-051. Could you please clarify what other necessary actions you're speaking of in connection with the 4th round fair share obligations? And are these actions related to zoning changes, funding, or other specific measures? And given that the council went into executive session at the last meeting to discuss this matter, I'm wondering why it's being presented for a vote tonight on the consent agenda with no public discussion. Can you explain the reasoning behind keeping the details about these actions from public speaking?
Thank you. We answer afterwards, Mr. Carlin. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak during public portion, first public comment? Seeing public comment, I'll respond to Ms. Coyne. So what other necessary actions, what actions, are there any zoning or funding, and why did we go into executive session? I was discussing executive session. I'll start off with that part. This was a legal matter that we had discussed. So round 4, which were required by the state of New Jersey to comply with affordable housing. This happens every 10 years where there's a certain amount of affordable housing that we have to provide in our community. And this is throughout the state of New Jersey. A figure was provided to us, and that discussion was whether we were comfortable with that, whether we want to appeal that, and those discussions had to take place in executive session with our legal counsel and our affordable housing consultant. Mr. Carter?
Well, that's correct. It's basically what I was going to report, that was basically addressing legal issues and court proceedings. There was nothing that dealt with as far as the housing development itself. It was just our obligation and legal issues of the upcoming application and filing that has to be done, which has to be done very quickly. And we're in the process of putting our complaint together now.
Thank you. Waive the reading, accept the minutes of the workshop session December 9th, 2024, and regular session December 9th, 2024, and December 23rd, 2024. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Mannion?
Yes.
Mrs. Albrecht Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Grace Love?
Think yes to December 9th and
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Abstain for both cases.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes. Bid report 2025 animal intervention service. May I have a motion?
So moved.
second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Mannion?
Yes.
Mrs. Albrecht Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Grace Love?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes. Next is ordinance, the second reading, there'll be a public hearing for adoption. It's ordinance amending chapter 47 of the Code of the Township, Gloucester, entitled Pet and Animal Abuse of the Code Book of the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, and State of New Jersey. This amends chapter 47, Pet and Animal Abuse of the Code of the Township of Gloucester, to amend as follows. A person applying for a license and registration tag shall pay a fee of $21 for registering each altered dog or cat, and $24 for registering each unaltered dog or cat before January 31st of each calendar year. There will be a senior discount for residents age 65 or older, or veterans. They can apply for a fee of $8 for registering for an altered dog or cat, or $11 for registering each unaltered dog or cat before January 31st. And it has a late fee of $15 we charge for each license that's not applied by March 31st of each calendar year. We will now open up the public hearing on this matter. Anyone who wishes to speak on this matter? Seeing none, close the public hearing. Have a motion?
Make that motion.
Is there a second
Second.
on the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Mannion?
Yes.
Mrs. Albrecht Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Grace Love?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes. Next is ordinance 0-25-02, calendar year 2025, ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank. This provides municipalities shall limit any increase in said budget to 2.5% unless authorized by ordinance to increase it to 3.5% over the previous year's final appropriations. Mr. Carr, is there anything you want to add to that?
This is commonly known as the COLA ordinance. You have passed it every year that I have been in business administrator. Other municipalities that I'm aware of also passed this. It allows us to go, as you just stated, from 2.5 to 3.5 on the appropriation side. More importantly, from my perspective, it allows you to bank any money that you are under that 3.5%.
Thank you, Mr. Cardis. I'll have a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second
Second.
on the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Mannion?
Yes.
Mrs. Albrecht Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Grace Love? Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes. Next is our consent agenda. Any council member would like to have any item removed or amended, please speak up. Hearing none, I entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Mannion?
Yes.
Mrs. Albrecht Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Grace Love?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes. We now have our GTE Gov access emails. We have a few of them this evening. First one's from Mr. Dave Leader from 1105 Huntington Avenue, Glendora. How long is the paid week of the employees of Gloucester Township? Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 5:45 p.m. equals 9.7 hours equals 39 hours a week. There are various shifts that are worked by township employees. Most administrative staff work Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 5:45 p.m. and the paid work week is 35 hours. Public Works, Recycling, Sewer, they work 40-hour weeks and their shifts vary to cover services. Their shift work is mostly Monday through Thursday, 7 to 5:30, or Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4. Other shifts work are provided for evening and weekend coverage. Police officers work various shifts. They have a rotating 2-3-2 schedule consisting of 12-hour shifts. Dispatchers work various 12-hour shifts that cover blocks of time to ensure 24-hour coverage. And depending on specific departmental needs or events, there's a variation to some of the schedules. The next question from Mr. Leader. He is requesting a total loan value and last month's interest to be reported at each council meeting. The public requires tracking of Gloucester Township spending, and these loans and totals year to date are not in the public domain or in the budget. Mr. Carson, I don't have that. Can you address that? I'm sorry.
I did not quite understand what he's looking for, to be honest with you. We do not have any documents that are required to be kept by the municipality through the state of New Jersey that would adhere to his request, from what I could gather. Again, I'm a little vague as to what he specifically is.
We'll ask for clarification, Mr. Leader. Next question from Mr. Leader. How can I petition the government for a redress of grievances if I don't have a public forum to do so? Reference the Amendment 1 of the Bill of Rights. Having time limits and only being able to speak once is limiting the public's ability to redress the township's government. Repeated requests for 30 minutes of mayor's time have gone unresponsive. What other methods exist to redress our government? Repeated requests for 30 minutes of mayor's time have gone unresponsive and not even recognized as having been received. In regards to the time period and public portion, law currently requires municipal bodies to set a portion of each meeting for public comments. Public bodies have allowed public comments, but they can also adopt written policies that require speakers to sign up in advance or limit the time of each speaker. So public comment, Mr. Leader, you have been at our meetings, at many meetings, and have addressed your comments and concerns with the municipality. In regards to Mayor and his schedule, I would suggest contacting the mayor's office. They're open from 8 to 5:45, Monday through Thursday. You can speak to any of his staff people and try to get in contact with the mayor. Our next question from Mr. Leader is it possible to create the GTMUA from the sewer division, leaving the recycling within township, or also move it to the MUA? The response, the administration, speaking to administration, no, it is not their objective to go back to the GTMUA or create that. And my personal opinion, no, to remain it as a sewer division. Mr. Leader's next question or statement. Working meeting agenda to allow public comment after more details of items is presented, or provide a more detailed description initially. Short descriptions of items are insufficient for public to comment upon. More details are provided. Public portion just ends up asking for those details. Either provide more information or allow questions before and after details of items are presented. That was a statement. Our last No, we got two more. We got four more? Oh, okay, all right. Okay. From Michael McHale of 54 Stephen Drive, Glendora. Gloucester Township, and more specifically Glendora, has a major feral cat problem. I understand there are TNA programs, but the real issue is people feeding them on their property and that they can wreak havoc on the rest of the town and the neighbors. I was even fined once because they got into my trash. If we wanted cats, we would buy one. We all pay a lot of taxes, and it's a big problem that needs to be dealt with. The township needs to address this issue and not put it back on the residents who aren't feeding them to begin with. Please advise the taxpayers on how council will address this issue. Please add it to the action items list until it's resolved. Thank you. We had reached out to Kathy Plazuski. Okay, Kathy Plazuski works with our feral cat community in the township, and she provided information about facts and fallacies about free roaming cats, what are feral cats, and it was Mr. Cars asked for something brief. We got something more than that, so I'm going to provide that to Mr. McHale, forward that to his email. But thank you for providing that. I appreciate it. Our next email is from Ira Eckstein of Cedar Creek Drive. At the last meeting, discussion about affordable housing obligations was held in a closed session. Can you explain why that decision was made? This seems like an issue that impacts the whole community, so I'm wondering why it wasn't discussed in public. I understand the township solicitor was involved in the meeting, but was the discussion purely about legal advice, or did it include broader decisions about housing obligations? If it was more general, should it have been made open to the public? This was addressed in Resolution 2501-051. It explains the outcome of the closed session meeting held at the last council meeting. Mr. Carlemere, in his response to Ms. Coyne, Mr. Eckstein addressed the matter of why we met in closed session. Next is from Marge Bonanno of 1025 Coronet Lane in Summerdale. I would like to know why the township's looking to spend $250,000 for a new playground while there are others in the township that are in need of repair. The playground in Timberburst development has not been maintained properly, especially the entrances. The blacktop walkways going to the playground are cracked and lifted due to tree roots. My grandson was so excited to go to the playground, but didn't get to it because he tripped on the uneven blacktop and fell. So we turned around and went home. Please consider maintaining and making the playgrounds and parks we already have safe for people to enjoy. At the community forum that was held on January 7th, Triad stated that the township was proposing a completely inclusive playground. It had the total project cost of $1 million with the Green Acres limit of $250,000. That has been amended, as we discussed earlier. It's now been reduced to $750,000 with a $187,500 loan at 0% interest over 20 years. Mr. Cars, this was forwarded to Mr. Cardis. Mr. Cars is having direct department and public works take a look at this playground in the Timberburst development, Ms. Bonanno. Thank you. And last, from Dina Hendry at 89 Lamp Post Lane. Good evening. Being I can't be in two places at once, I have some questions that you can kindly answer. Has the 60-unit supportive housing project on block 12302, lot 1, 420 Turnerville, Salina Road been approved by the Gloucester Township Council acting as the redevelopment entity? No. This is a Camden County project that will be constructed and owned by Camden County, and the county did not request a redeveloper status. Therefore, there was no action that was required by the council or the redevelopment entity. If yes, when was it approved, and under what resolutions or ordinances? It was a county activity project. Does the project contribute towards Gloucester Township's affordable housing obligations under the Fair Share Housing Plan? Yes. This is a Camden County project that's anticipated to count as a credit-worthy affordable housing units under the township's 4th round housing element and fair share plan. If yes, how many units will be counted towards those obligations? It's anticipated 60 affordable housing credits from this county project. What population does this supportive housing aim to serve? Veterans, elderly, individuals with disabilities. It's our understanding that the county project is for those that are in transitional housing, homeless supportable housing. Will these units be classified as affordable housing under New Jersey law? That is the township's understanding that yes, it will be. If the project does not count towards affordable housing obligations, why not? And how does it fit into the broader housing goals of the township? That was responded, it does count towards it. What is the expected impact of this project on Gloucester Township residents and resources, particularly given its tax exempt status. This will contribute to our housing obligations. This is located past Homeward Bound on the right-hand side as you're heading to Washington Township on Salina Road. It is a transitional housing project that is a holistic approach by the county, just not helping those that are in need, but also with their health and physical and a public facility or a recreation center for them. But it is not a long-term solution for any individuals that are staying in that particular property. So that concludes our e-govs. We'll now open up our second public portion. The second public portion is 30 minutes. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes for the second public portion. Once you've completed your comments or questions and the public comment period has concluded, the council president will then ask any member of the governing body or designate if they wish to address the comments or questions asked by the persons who just spoke. Would anyone like to speak during this public portion? Ms. Lazis, followed by Ms. Coyne and Ms. Smith. Yeah, we need to get, yes.
Kathy Lachowski, 10 Belgrade, New Jersey. So I work with the township in support of TNR. It is a humane method to control the cat population. We do not have a cat problem. We have a people problem. These cats didn't just get in the car and drive here and say, oh, it's just like a good place to live. With people who are having cats that are not fixed, they're moving from apartments and houses and they're leaving them outside. And cats are gonna do what cats do and they start repopulating. Over the last 4 or 5 years, I've trapped and fixed over 500 feral cats in Gloucester Township. I've had over 200 pregnant cats spayed, preventing probably over 600 kittens from being born, and probably another 3,000 or 4,000 from being conceived. In addition, I've trapped over 500 kittens and had them removed from our community and adopted into good homes because they were at a stage where they were not feral, so I could socialize them. This is not a problem I can solve by myself. These residents that are out here feeding these cats are asking for help. And me and other volunteers are going out and helping them get them fixed. But there's nowhere for them to go. They are not adoptable animals. But what I can say is that our program has worked, and Tom can attest to this. We've reduced our shelter intake over the past few years by 325 animals per year, which last year resulted in $75,000 savings. Prior year, 2 years ago, the prior year, 100,000, and this year it'll be $150,000 savings for a TNR program that you guys are not paying for. We're doing this all from donations and grants and the occasional help from residents. So this isn't costing the township anything. I actually did respond to that person who sent the email because he was spewing hate on Facebook. And he did not take me up on my offer to assist him. I offered to assist him. TNR is a humane method, as my daughter, when she speaks, will tell you. Trapping and killing these cats is not going to work, and if we trapped and killed these cats, it would still cost the township $150,000 to trap and kill 300 cats in 1 year because of the astronomical rate that the shelter charges for an animal. So this is the humane solution, and it will take some time. There are a lot of locations in the township, and when people ask for help, we help as soon as we can. We're obviously limited with appointments and things of that nature. I can think of 10 locations that I've done over the years that has not had another cat show up unfixed because the caretakers have been diligent about making sure they stay on top of it. There are locations that I just can't finish because people aren't cooperating. If I'm on a street and there's 4 people feeding and 3 of them say, okay, we're gonna stop feeding so you can trap, and one of them doesn't stop feeding, you can't trap a cat if it's not hungry. So again, this is not a cat problem, this is a people problem. And if anybody wants to help with the problem, I am happy to take on more volunteers. But if not, I will continue to help any resident that is willing to cooperate and follow the process. I'm not about trapping and killing cats, and I'm not about trapping and removing cats unless there is a really good reason. And when there is a really good reason, I will do it, but it has to be really good because trap and relocate is 50% of the time a death sentence, especially if you don't do it correctly. So again, my services are available for free to any resident that needs help, but you have to do it the way I want to do it, or I will not help, because I'm not in the business of putting a cat to death because they existed. It's not their fault they existed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Coyne?
Denise Gordon, she's lady. I'd like some clarity on, block 12-302, lot 1. That property is in the Lake Land redevelopment area. And so under the local redevelopment and housing law, I believe, the redevelopment entity, which is council, needs to approve the selection of the developer and negotiate a redevelopment agreement. Is that not true?
We'll answer at the end of your comments.
Okay, and, so with that in mind, I'm wondering what authority Camden County has to issue bids and begin work on the project located within Gloucester Township in a redevelopment area without any oversight from the redevelopment entity. And I'm wondering if there's a formal agreement, between the township and the county regarding this project. Seems how it is in the township's redevelopment plan for that area. And I also, would like to know if there was ever a public meeting on this project at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Smithman, followed by the lady in the back. Thank you. Sorry to point. Good evening.
Complex, report, is on adjacent to and parallel with Kelly Drive Road, identified as Kelly Drive Lane, 3 years in schedule, and it brings us into the gate. It's marked with blue line, and bring it up to the fact that we're still having complications with my identity. I still strongly believe that it has been stolen and used fraudulently in some type of scheme, possibly involving the township, including the police officers. Since for more than 2 years, I have been desperately trying to get assistance with this matter. I was kind of this evening. There's a question. I understand the engineer.
Excuse me?
I said, how do you, was this township, New Jersey council this evening? How are you?
I'm fine.
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
At the previous meeting, on the 2nd, Monday, of the month of January, 2025, while leaving this meeting, trying to gather information from the official bulletin located in the hallway of this 1262 Bennington Road, Gloucester, New Jersey, 0012. That's still the address to the municipality, formerly known as Gloucester, New Jersey municipality.
We'll respond after your comments.
A lot of time needed at the time of the previous meeting, trying to get information off the bulletin board as the official post. That councilwoman right there, I believe the sign says Carolyn Grace. My name is Sean Smith. She stopped holding an envelope. It appeared to come from the United States Postal Service, interrupted me while trying to get information on the board, asked me if I placed that in her mailbox. I had no idea what that councilwoman was at all. I have no idea where any of the council people are. I don't have a phone number for anyone on this council except for the phone number of the municipality.
You misheard me. You misheard me.
She held an envelope and she asked several times if I placed that in her mailbox. Now, Councilman Carolyn Grace knows where I live. She was at my apartment, accompanied by the president of the Gloucester Township Council, Amanda Mercado, and previous council member, Daniel Hutchinson. She knows exactly where my apartment is. I have not been able to get any assistance in my stolen identity. And then several years later, I'm being questioned whether or not I approached a household of a council member while trying to regain my own information. My father, God rest his soul, grew up in this town. He died. 2006. May I ask why I'm being interrupted? Going through the only means that I'm permitted to try to follow the procedures that are constantly changing in this Gloucester Township, New Jersey municipality. Why am I being asked or accused of being anyone in this council's private housing area? That's a question. Please answer.
At the end of your comments, we will respond when the public comment is ended.
You will answer that question.
Yes.
Council President, may I respond to you?
Do you want to wait? Do you want to wait after? We'll wrap it up and then you can respond. Okay. Yes, and followed by you. Okay. Sorry, point.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Thomas. I'm from Glendora. I'm on Fifth Avenue. And in reference to this woman's, yeah, the TNR, I think we should do the TNR. I've had a problem with cats. I've lived here in Glendora for 30 years. When I first moved in here, there was no cat problem. All of a sudden, it just showed up. I had no idea what to do. I reached out to people. I've gone to Homeward Bound, and they forwarded me on to a woman named Kelly, who I am in contact with all the time. Now I have no kittens. I do have cats that come to my house, and I feed them, to be honest. And I don't ask anybody for any money or anything. I do it myself. I think it's a very good, humane thing. Population will dwindle. I mean, I have noticed it in my little area. I have less cats to show up at my house. And I just think that we should continue with the TNR. And as Bob Barker would always say at the end, if the price is right, control the pet population, please have pets spayed or neutered.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes. Can you say your name again? She didn't hear it. I'm the clerk.
Brooke McGinley.
Okay. Hi, bro.
I am a PhD candidate in biostatistics, so privacy online in the safety of public health. I'm going to reference bovine TB and badger culling, and this is applicable to what I'm going to talk about for the vacuum effect for our feral cat population. So there was a clinical trial run in the UK about badger culling to see what the effects were on bovine TB. Cows get bovine TB from badgers. You did not know. So what was done was they were given colored pellets in their food, and then those badgers would then defecate those pellets, and that's how they were able to track their location. Okay? One site is randomized to badger culling. One site was randomized to allow badgers to continue to live in that population unless they were to test positive for bovine TB. It was not called unless it was tested positive. In the site that was randomized to culling the badgers, they found that there was actually an increase in bovine TB in that particular area because those badgers have like a space, that's their space, that's their claim. When they were removed, new badgers then came into that area and then infected the cows with bovine TB. When we had the badgers who we kept in their space, we did not remove them unless they had tested positive for bovine TB. The rates actually went down, and I will provide you Donnelly et al. This paper that talks about this clinical trial for your reference. In terms of our feral cat population, the TNR ordinance that we have within this township allows us to track, neuter, and vaccinate. We are vaccinating against rabies and other diseases that could then be passed throughout our animal population in our township, which could then turn into a public health risk. We're not vaccinating against rabies. We all know how that goes. It spreads on Facebook with wildfire and everyone freaks out. So if we do this appropriately, we return the animals, we will see the population diminish. But if we remove those animals, what do you think is going to happen? More cats are then going to flood that area, just like I saw in this clinical trial for badger culling with bovine TB. Would you like me to provide this to you?
Yes, you can give it to the clerk. And Nancy, if you could provide a copy to all of us, put it in our mailbox.
Absolutely.
Our mailbox located here in the municipal hall. Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? We'll close our portion. Ms. Luzuski, thank you for your comments. Brooke, it went over my head. I was trying to understand. I was a marketing major in undergrad and grad school, but I was following you. I was writing notes, but thank you very much for your comments. And we'll read that and we'll pass that around. Ms. Coyne, in regards to the Lakeland redevelopment plan, and what authority does the county have to not seek a redevelopment agreement or a formal agreement? Mr. Carlmayer, is that something you can follow up?
Yeah. I can follow up if she can be a little more specific, or if someone can give you a little more specific as to the location, area, lot, and block. I'll see if I can.
It's located in there. Okay. Okay. So, so I'll give you that information as well. And also find out if there's any public meetings that took place. I'm not aware of any public meetings that took place. Ms. Smithman, in regards to your identity, we have talked on many occasions that that is out of the purview of Gloucester Township Council, and that's something that you should work with appropriate authorities, meaning Gloucester Township Police Department, or maybe in the prosecutor's office or something, but that is not something that I can lead you in a proper direction. In regards to our address is 1261, 1262. It is 1261 here. And in regards to, I just want to clarify, when you said I had been to your apartment, yes, I was campaigning with Miss Winters, Mr. Hutchinson, and Miss Grace in 2021, and we knocked on your door. Okay, we did not know that you were the actual the occupant of that place, so we did not enter into your apartment. So I just want to clarify that we were knocking on doors. That's what people do when they campaign. In regards to Ms. Grace, you want to address?
I would just like to address, it was just a piece of mail that fell on the ground, either from my purse or my pocket. It was just a bill. It wasn't even my address. It was actually my rental address on it. And Mrs. Shauna picked it up and gave it to me.
My name is Shauna C. Smithman.
Shauna T. Smithman gave it to me, and I thanked her.
Ms. Smithman, please don't shout out. Ms. Smithman, Ms. Smithman, please don't shout out.
I thanked her for picking up the mail, and I asked her where she found it. That's it. Please.
That interaction did not happen.
So we'll chalk it up to a misunderstanding.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay. Calling the directors.
Mr. Burley,
Nothing to report.
Mr. Curtis,
Nothing to report.
Chief Harkins.
Just to address Ms. Smithman's, again, accusation, all the evidence that she produced to us was fully investigated by our criminal investigations unit. It was found to be no criminal nature. It was asked by me to be reviewed by the Camden County Prosecutor's Office Major Crimes Unit. They reviewed it. They concurred with our investigation. We again referred Ms. Smithman to the New Jersey Department of Health and Human Services so that there's agencies of a civil nature that could review her accounts with the agency that's involved in this. And that was all referred again to Ms. Smithman. It's been given to her many times. I have no idea whether she follows up on it.
One time
I'm sorry, I'm
in Atlantic
speaking.
County, New
Ma'am.
Jersey, outside of the county.
Ms. Smithman, please do not shout out.
Well, the police
We have
officer-
rules of order, Ms. Smithman. Please do not shout out, or we'll have to ask you to leave.
So it's been investigated to the ability of a criminal nature by the Gloucester Township Police Department, concurred by the Camden County Prosecutor's Office. We have no jurisdiction if it's a civil matter, and so that's why the referral was made.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Mr. McGill? Mr. Lanier?
Thank you all for coming out tonight. I want to say a big thank you to the Gloucester Township Greens and Mr. Davis for your extremely generous donation to make Jake's Ball playground feasible. Thank you.
Mrs. Albright Troxel?
I was very happy to vote in support of Jake's Place. I think it's much needed in our community. I think all communities should have at least one Jake's Place in their community because not everyone is the same. We all have different needs. I also enjoyed the Field of Dreams. I've actually volunteered there a few times, and that's a place that's much needed in many townships, not just ours. And Mr. Davis said some wonderful things that really touched my heart just hearing them. And Taylor Park is going to be a park that's going to be for senior citizens like me. So I don't get left out all the time. I'll be able to go there and maybe enjoy a few things for my seniors, Plus, I can also bring my grandchildren there and they can enjoy it. So it's a park for all ages. And we need those in all towns too, because we can't just sit in our own little section and do nothing. We need to start communicating with each other and being together in a joyful atmosphere. And parks are the place to do it. So thank you all for coming.
Mrs. Gracewell?
Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Have a great night.
Mr. Nash?
Thanks for coming out.
Mrs. Walters?
I want to thank everybody for coming. Yes, and I do support Jake's Laws, and I'm glad that it's going to be in our neighborhood. The kids and the parents and their family members will truly enjoy it. For all different disabilities, whether it's emotional, social, or physical, these children do need a safe place to go to, and their families. And I think it's wonderful. So, and I appreciate the Mr. Davis, your efforts to give. So I appreciate it, and thank you.
Mrs. Renters?
I want to say thank everyone for coming out. I mimic the comments of my other council members, and have a great night.
Mr. Mercado?
Thank you for coming out this evening. Thank you for the comments, those that participate during the public hearing and also the public portion. Thank you to the Field of Dreams organization, those that are involved with it, for your work and your advocacy of that particular project here in our township. During the month of January and February, our fire districts celebrate the year that has passed and look forward to their new year. They have installation dinners. And a few of us have been able to attend installation dinners and provide a heartfelt thank you to our first responders and our firemen and women in our fire districts. So if you see one of them, thank them very much. But that's our opportunity as a township to break bread with them, council members, and also thank them for the work that they have done for this past year and continue to provide to our community. We are celebrating Black History Month at the second meeting in February. We are accepting nominations for individuals that are outstanding African Americans that made contributions to our community. That deadline is next week. So if you want to nominate somebody, please go to our township's website and please nominate an individual that you believe this honor is worthy of. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Have a great evening, everyone.